Thank you. It's the planning board meeting for May 6th, 2019. It's 7 p.m. in the Sutton Town Hall. And I'd like to open up with a request to approve the minutes from the April 22nd meeting. Hopefully everyone got to read them. Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Miriam. Second. Thank you. Any discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Before we go through the general,
Who was the motion? Who was the second?
Miriam? Wally.
Thank you.
Before we go through all the other stuff under general business, at 7:10 tonight, there's a public hearing scheduled for Wedgewood Farm, the over 55 retirement community at Armsbury Road, and they requested that we continue the hearing. We got that on an email. If someone's here for that, I don't want you to have to listen to all the general business. We're going to reschedule them at 7:30 p.m. At our next meeting, which is May 20th. Oh, if someone wants to leave, we're not mad. All right. I want to acknowledge we have a filing from IBA Inc. at 103 Gilmore Drive. And that's, what's that about, Jen?
IDA, currently located in Millbury, would like to consolidate their two buildings. They have one storage, as you know, up on Jeffer Road and John Drive up in Sutton. They have storage there, and then they have a facility in Millbury, kind of near the Sutton line on 122. 122A, whatever it is, 122. And they'll be consolidating those and expanding in a 72,000 square foot facility on the last lot in Farmers Park. So you have Prime Metals and then IBA, and then the park will be done.
And then it's done. Okay.
So this is the filing for that building, and we'll start the public hearing process with them on May 20th.
Okay. Thank you. Have some Form A plans for 1 Smith Road to sign. Are they?
The Form A is the Mylar that's right up there, but I will pull it up on the.
If you have any questions, I'm Bob Murphy.
Hi, Bob. It's been a while.
That's up on the screen.
And it's,
Just to let you know, we went to conservation, we've gotten approval of the wetland line, called an RDA, and they approved the line, so we were able to meet the zoning requirements for the upland requirement. And I went over the other issues with Jen relative to the A&R for frontage, zoning. Basically, we meet everything.
So the deal is, this is an existing lot. It's not creating a new lot. This lot exists as it was. But the last time a plan with this lot on it was signed, they didn't feel the need to do that wetland delineation at the time. So in order to sign for the remaining lots that were shown on that plan, they labeled this not a building lot. So now they're at a point where they were ready to spend the money to delineate the wetland line, and would like to refile the plan as a buildable lot. So it's an existing lot, it's not a new lot, and it's just have the wetlands delineated so that you can see there's 60% upland and all of the other things for the buildable lot.
I went to the dump last weekend, and I could see the blue flags. And I know we've had a lot of rain, and it makes a difference, but the blue flags were probably on bushes that were 2 feet underwater.
The whole area is, it does get temporarily flooded.
Yeah.
Because of the roadway coming in, but the wetlands were reviewed by the agent. And basically, they don't go necessarily by the level of water.
I understand.
They look at the soil. The site was also altered, but it was reviewed and approved by conservation. And just to let you know, we're not gonna do any work down near those flags.
I wouldn't think you would.
Anywhere near that area.
okay. And am I the only one that signs this?
Well, you
Everyone?
need the motion to approve,
And it'll be,
and for the plan dated and whatever the most recent date is on that plan.
okay. So everyone on the board is familiar with the site? And what's,
Yep.
and what's going on, okay? Is there anyone in the public that has questions or concerns or anything we need to hear about? Hearing none, then I guess I call for a motion. And I can,
What's the most recent date on that plan?
4/22/19.
Thank you.
sounds like Wally wants to make a motion.
Okay, I move that we approve the plan of land in Sutton at 1 Smith Road, dated 4/22/19 by Christopher C. Carlton.
The only weird thing about this is right now it's called as 1 Smith Road, and you'll see per this signature, the legal frontage, is on Stone School Road. We don't have adequate legal frontage on Smith Road anymore, so the assessment department may choose to change that, address, once it gets to them.
Oh,
So-
okay, yeah.
And they would, well, of course, they would also need to technically access off the part of their frontage on Stone School Road as well.
Thank you, Wally. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the board? Any further discussion from the public? Nick?
The street number will depend upon where the driveway comes off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's gonna come off of Stone School Road.
Okay. So we'll be attaching a number. We don't know what that number is, but,
We have to get it from the assessors when we
Right.
get the building permit.
okay. Good. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Looks like we have
Aye.
6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0, 0.
Kyle can raise his hand all he wants, but he doesn't
Okay.
count.
All right.
He actually really shouldn't even raise his hand,
I usually don't.
So I'll,
but you won't have one.
so we all sign this.
Where's that?
No, you said that.
Upstairs in the room.
That's the format we're gonna read.
There's such a road.
6, 19.
You will get one.
All set?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you. Next is Villas Phase 3, Units 97 through 99, reconfiguration.
Didn't realize there were so many people here. I would have brought more plans, but do you mind sharing?
We can do that.
Should
be tough.
I got it. I'm good.
Okay, yeah.
I'll try and condense this, but in the past, my predecessor has moved some units around, and it's caused a fair amount of confusion, one of which I'm working on right now. And so rather than create more confusion, I came in and saw Jen last week. And what happened is there's this side of the golf course, and then there's the east side of the golf course. We had to put one additional, there was supposed to be 74 units over on the, this west side of the golf course, but they could only fit 73, so we agreed about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I think, Jen, with the homeowners association, put the extra unit over on Fairway View Drive. When we did that, rearranged everything, one thing that wasn't taken into consideration was the existing transformers, the electrical transformers in there. So if you look at the plan that I gave you there, it shows where the transformer is. And where street number 65 is, that was proposed to be a duplex. 63 and 65 were gonna be a duplex unit, and 61 was a single. I'm looking to swap those out to put the single where the duplex was approved, and the duplex where the single was, so that we can actually put the driveway there. We don't have to move the transformer. Moving the transformer it would take probably a year. It's an extensive process. So rather than create any additional confusion, we agreed that I would just come into the board and propose that change.
Thanks for coming in. For the TV only.
Sure.
Name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is John Burns with Blackbrook Realty. We're the developers of the property.
Good job.
Thank you.
No, this is what he wants to.
Any questions or comments from board members?
Doubles here,
Mhm.
transformer.
Is it
Okay.
3 new units or 2 new units? Is that- I'm not-
No, there's no additional units. It's, what it is that if you see, these are street numbers, 63 and 65 are a duplex. If you look at the second page, you'll see what was originally approved in that location. And,
No, the transformers in there.
Oh, okay.
These relatively new to the board. The additional units that one that had to be moved over, caused kind of a shifting of some of the units on the site. So that this isn't about the additional units, this is about how things had to shift on the site, and that transformer was already located before units had to shift, to fit in an additional one. Thus the problem with the location. So these 3 units, none of these are new, these are all ones that were originally proposed, but now he needs to flip them around because of that transformer location. That was in a nice spot before they had to wedge another one in.
So how many of these units are remaining to be built on this road?
the ones that are, can I count the foundations that are in, or do you want to know which?
No, which one? Yeah, no,
We have
They're not in,
foundations that are
yeah.
in. So the ones, when you're looking at this plan right now, we have to put in the foundations for 51, 55, 57, 61, 63, and 65. Everything else, the foundations are in. Built to me means the wood coming on there. We have the foundation at the 71, 73, and if the rain stops, we hope to start in the near future.
Clear enough?
seems reasonable to me.
Yes, your question. Okay.
It's not an increase in units, it's just a reshuffling a little bit
Yeah.
to avoid a conflict.
Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I guess we need a vote, or just to acknowledge that we're,
I think we will vote to allow the reconsideration of units 51, I think the units 97 through 99, those are street numbers, right? 61 through 65. So, in the manner shown as presented.
I'll make a motion that we grant the reconfiguration of units 97, 98, and 99 as shown on this plan dated May 1, 2019 on Fairway View Drive.
thank you, Scott. Second. Thank you, Marion. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Thank you.
Painless, well.
Hopefully you
Nice
got
when it
time
goes
to watch
smooth.
all the sporting events on tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
Nothing to do with
Yeah.
the schedule. Nothing to do with the schedule.
Watch it, Kentucky Derby again.
Turn it on, watch what else is still going on.
Next is the proposed site changes and potential use change for 211 Worcester Province Turnpike. Just for the, all the zillions that are watching, your name, please?
Ronald Desevich, J&L Holdings, owner of 211 Worcester Properties.
Thank you, Ron.
So I'm here to propose an expanded parking at the existing site that I have on 211, which is now 146 business. So I drew up a plan, and I think Jim
You got it?
Yeah, I would.
had it on.
That's it?
Yeah, so I drew that up. And I just want to come here before I go to the engineer, which is it's a little bit of money to have someone do a storm management, water, and expanding parking. So I just wanted to get the blessing of the board to see if you guys would be okay with me expanding the parking lot. So I think we have 2 plans here. I don't know if Jen has the, you have
So
the,
there, you want over?
yeah, so okay, so my butter is used to be P&M asphalt. So what we have now is the property line.
So Route 146 is on the bottom.
Okay, yeah, so, all right, so here's my property line here. So after many years, the P&M asphalt had an encroachment. So this is all paved where you see right here. So through the years, he took out the hill and there's an encroachment on my property. So the new owner that's purchasing the property, I've had a meeting with him, and I think it's last thing, but Mike and I have talked about taking this hill out, and after the engineers do their surveying and to expand the property, I'm trying to leave him an easement to leave some of that property that was paved, so he would be able to get more turning radius on his building. And I told Mike that I am willing to do that if the engineers can do it in a way where we can allow him, and I would give him an easement to get the turning radius on his property. And I'm willing to do that and work with him. But my main concern is to increase the parking lot. The new owner also asked about this section in the back here, which going towards Atlas Box, it's like a 60-foot hill. It's enormous, and if I could turn back time, and when Atlas Box was doing their excavation, I wish we would have took that hill down, because it's kind of like a Mount Everest between three units, and it's just, I don't know, I just wish I had it taken down. So I'm here tonight to ask you guys if you'd be willing to, I'd like to expand my property. The abutter would like that hill that's on my property be kind of taken down a little bit so it's not too severe of a slope. So maybe he can have a little more of an easement around his property. So that's why I'm here, to see what you guys think about that.
Okay.
Basically, that's kind of working over the lot line, so you'd be removing all vegetation, soil, pulling it down so it's more level, so it allows this new parking configuration that you can see there. Right now, I'm not really proposing any work beyond the building. So it's really kind of just stripping and flattening, to some degree anyways, the area between these two sites in conjunction with the approval of both owners, and then establishing the parking, and then if you'd even be open to that, and then obviously you would probably do some revegetation of portions of this.
So what I would be looking to do is, the existing hill that we see now is just grown up trees and vegetation. So what I'd like to do is just push that hill back to our property line. And then if the engineers can do it in a way where I could give him a little bit more easement, because when he bought the property, because it was all paved, he thought he had so much more land. So after it was surveyed, he was
Here, I'm
pleasantly
pulling up
surprised
I'm
that
trying to pull up the aerial.
it was like he lost 60 feet. So he's still gonna buy the property, but I met with him and said, maybe I can work with you with the engineers. So when I push that hill back, maintaining that slope, if I can give you 8 feet or 10 feet for an easement, I'd be willing to do that. And he was okay with that. And to take that big hill off the back.
So this is the property just north of you on the highway that just changed ownership?
It's about to change ownership, so,
That's what you're talking about?
yeah, so if we're going, so this would be where P&M asphalt used to be.
So is there a slope limit to this kind of discussion? Or you can make it as steep as you want?
No, you'd have to have that engineered.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd have to engineer it so it works with, you know.
Or
what-
a retaining wall or half a wall or something established to keep, because there's considerable separation between.
Yeah, so right now, the previous owner has a slope coming down his driveway, and he put a type of riprap, rock. I'd be willing to do either that or some mulch and some shrubbery on that. But there is gonna be a slope there, because there is like a 9 feet difference between the two lots. So basically, there is a slope now with a bunch of overgrown trees, and I'd like to just push that slope back. And if I could give him an easement, 8 feet, 5 feet, 7 feet, if he had 3 feet, it'd be better for him, so.
What are the distances between the topo lines?
On that drawing that was there, they're probably 2 feet, 2-foot contour lines?
Whereabouts are you?
The slope you're talking about, this one.
The slope from the top of the slope to the bottom?
So what's the distance
Right
between
here.
these lines?
From here to there?
2 feet, no, between the lines. What- The 2-foot contour
You were saying
lines?
it was like 60 feet, 60-foot bank.
It's, the banking is roughly, if you're standing on my pavement and you look at the banking goes up, and then on his property, it comes down 3 feet and then to the pavement. So I'd say it's approximately 9 feet.
So see how there's long dashes in the topography, and then there's short dashes.
Yeah.
So the long dashes are 10 feet, and each short dash line is 2 feet.
Okay.
So
There's
you've
10
got,
feet.
You know, so
12
right
feet.
behind the building, from right behind the building, you're going 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, from the corner of the building up to the corner of the lot.
The big hill he's talking about.
But
is back
most
here
of that happens on, over that last.
But this is not my main concern, though. This corner here, it's really high. I'd like to, both of us would like to take that down. We're not saying taking it down to my parking lot, but this right here is like huge. It's like 30 feet, 30, 40 feet. We'd like to just take that down a little bit. My concern is right,
Yeah, that's your parking lot right there.
okay,
on
yeah,
your
so where
right.
my loading dock is here, my concern is this space right here. That's all I'm concerned about.
Here.
I'm not really concerned about this back, because it would be almost impossible to get it down to my parking lot,
Oh, I
which
see,
I'm not
yeah.
asking to do that. I'm just asking just to take that knob, and he's asking,
Between the two of you.
yeah, just to take that down a little bit. But I'm concerned about where my loading dock is, where, you see where he has his, like, where he paved, where his back end is. Right here. So this is where this is what I would like to
This thing here?
just push back.
Okay.
Oh,
From
that's,
here to
that's level
there,
up here.
not
He's
here.
backing into
I
the-
can't do that back there, it's just too steep.
Okay.
That's
Just-
on this
I'm not-
property.
I'm not- I know that's just not possible.
I'm looking at the plan, and I'm counting this proposed part, there's 36 spaces, if I counted right, on this plan. If you're able to do all this stuff, you end up with, how many spaces do you have now?
I think
Do you
I
know?
have, 24.
Okay, all right. And one of my questions, but all this stuff is gonna be on your property,
Yes.
but that's news to him, that, because it looked to him like it was.
Well, he knows.
he-
Yeah, he already knows that. He had it surveyed,
Yeah.
and he realizes that he's only 16 feet off the garage.
Is he a paving company, or has he just bought the real estate? So he's,
He's a landscaper guy.
okay.
He's landscaping.
And I personally, I wanna find a way to say yes. I'm wondering, but anything we do here, has ripple effects for anyone else that has a geography challenge, let's put it that way, where there's mountains, that have been left behind because of stuff that went on in the past. So there's a part of me that wants to make sure he's part of the conversation too, so it works for,
Yeah.
who pays for what is between you guys. But,
Well, what I'm doing is not affecting his property.
it won't, okay,
Because what I'm doing is not touching.
it's your property.
Yeah, it's not
so-
touching his property line.
Yeah,
So I should probably, I probably should have never mentioned in the conversation, but I'm willing to do, if the engineers can do it, is whatever I can get for the parking. And if there's 7 feet left before I start to slope down,
yeah.
I'd give him an easement. He's okay with his turnaround in the building now, but I had a conversation with him after we do the engineering. Wherever I start that slope, if he gains 5 feet, I can't use it. I'd give him the easement to do it. So that's where we're at. I'm not on his property line.
Right.
So the
But
question
the reason
is
I think he
more-
might wanna be he might wanna think ahead too about what his plans are for the property, and he might wanna,
Maxed out.
this is the time, it's similar to you, wishing you had taken care of Mount Everest.
Yeah.
He might wanna think like you should have been thinking, with perfect hindsight, that would have been the time he's making the investment, now's the time for him to make an investment that's gonna make his whole property, more manageable for him now and for in the future, if he ever decides that he wants to move down 146 someplace else. I'm just throwing that out there. Any other board members?
Because he probably bought that property thinking that turnaround association of garage is his.
Well, now he realizes that he had it.
Now we realize that it's not his.
Well, he had it surveyed,
Right.
and we both acknowledged the stakes. So what I'm doing is just extending the parking lot and staying on my property line.
Oh,
So this
okay.
has nothing to do with his
Right.
property.
Yeah,
But
he might think.
I'm bringing him up, basically whatever's left over,
Yeah.
because he thought he had more. I'd be willing to give him the easement.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. But as far as what I'm doing, it's totally on my property line.
But what he would need to do and what he kind of needs your reaction on before he does the detailed engineering, because no matter what he does, he's adjusting grades significantly within the Route 146 overlay. So he has to come in for a site plan approval and a Route 146 approval. And he doesn't want to spend the money on detailed engineering if the board says, no, you're not stripping that lot to the lot line. Because he literally will have to strip the lot to the lot line and may actually need to negotiate with the neighbor to kind of grade over the line as well. But you have to literally strip to the lot line to make that work. And then you could potentially have him put some plantings back in certain areas, you know, if you wanted to do that. But he would have to get a waiver from the 146 overlay and from working in the setbacks to even think about this plan. So he was just kind of looking for a straw poll from the board before he goes and spends all that extra.
And before I ask board members to weigh in, anyone from the public? Any opinions, comments, advice?
I
Don't hear anything from the public, so I guess it's.
met with the new owner, and he's okay what I want to do.
Mhm.
Now, I would not go and spend all that money and come to you, and he's gonna come to the board and say, I don't want
Right.
that. I wouldn't be here today if that was the case.
Yeah. Well, Mariam, what do you think?
I'll start. Well, in concept, I have no problem with it. It seems like a good use. I'm just concerned about, you know, not having clearly defined exactly what's gonna happen. But that would happen in the site plan review and such, so that's where I am.
So I assume that the building, when it was built, you established the parking space required for the building and the uses. So now are you just trying to reconfigure that, or get more parking because so many people are coming to the site and you're
Well,
running out of parking?
Well, I would like to expand the parking to make more use of the building. I mean, I have a good space there, and I have a lot of property to the left that, you know, through
Isn't
the,
being used.
through the years, I mean, there was a slope there, a 9-foot slope, and,
You can finally see it on the aerial. I finally got it to work.
No, okay.
so,
Only took 20
yeah,
minutes.
so this is the slope through the years that's been here, which is approximately 9 feet, and then you see the encroachment there. And the new owner knows that. So what I'm proposing has nothing to do with this property. The slope will approximately start probably, you know, off his property line and then slope down. So it's not like the slope's starting anywhere near his property. So what I would like to do is just push this back enough where I can get the extra parking. And this is the steep part back there.
But is that on your property?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really, I mean, if I could do something with that, and when the engineers look at it, if I can, fine. He's okay too, doing that with me. But my concern is just pushing the parking right in there. And the back is, you know, is what it is. It's been like that since many years.
Wally, what do you think?
But, you know, the engineers are gonna draw it up where, the way I did the plan to you guys, this will fit there based on the regulations that the town wants. And obviously, I wouldn't be here if I didn't talk to the homeowner. That's, I mean, the butter next to me.
I think probably, it seems like a good idea in concept, and I think we have to see what the engineers come up with, how it works with water flow and everything else.
Michael?
Yeah, no, I agree. It seems like a good idea. Would you be losing any parking spots as you push it back, or is it, I mean, am
It's gonna
I?
gain.
No, I
You're
wouldn't,
just
I wouldn't,
gaining
no, I
those
wouldn't be losing any
additional-
property. I'd be gaining, and it just, I mean, that could make the hill look a little nicer. It's just overgrown vegetation now. I think it would be, I mean, if it would be nicer, I could landscape it a little better.
Kyle?
I think it's a good idea.
So, yeah, so because this isn't in the 146 overlay, I'm sure there's coverage and, you know, encroachments on setbacks and all that good stuff
Yeah,
that
and-
needs to come into play here for this
And that's the
consideration.
primary reason why he's here, because he wants, before he spends significant money on grading, engineering that will include grading, drainage, stormwater management, not to mention little things like replacement landscaping. He wanted to see, wanted to lay it out right up front. He'll need a whole bunch of waivers, for some coverage, for setback work, for a lot of different things in the 146 overlay, which is why he wanted to approach you now and say, look, are you even up for this? If not, just say no, and then I'll know not to spend the money. If you are, then I'll spend the money, knowing that there's still no guarantee, but at least he can get a sense from the board that if it's done well, that in this, on this particular site, in this particular location, that this might work.
First and foremost, for me, thank you for coming in, because some people don't come in and don't have this conversation, and then end up here saying, but I already spent all this money. It doesn't cost you any money to come in and ask, so that speaks volumes, and anyone else in the overlay district that has an idea is smart to come in on their dime to talk about it, and I would encourage you personally to, I think you should spend the money. I wanna see, I'm confident there's a way we can move forward with it, and you can meet our vision for the 146 overlay. We recognize that it's worked well, but we've had to tweak it. It's not cast in stone and absolutely cement. But at the same time, there'll probably be a few things that we'll ask you to do, so you can expect to spend a little bit more money than just the engineering plans. That's my 2 cents. Does that give you what you needed?
Yeah, so you're asking for waivers and such, so I guess in the compromised position, what are you gonna do to improve this from a drive-by improvement, viewage from, curbside appeal? What are the improvements to the site with the modifications? Even though that's scrubby plants per se, but to take them all down, then we have no more greenery there, so what are you gonna do to change that? That would be part of our consideration, I would think.
Thanks for coming in.
All set?
Yeah. We don't take a vote as such, you just know which way the wind's blowing.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is to endorse a plan for the Penn connection at 24 Oakhurst.
Yeah, so you can make these motions, and then as soon as we're all done, we can sign everything we need to sign.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So we need a motion to endorse the 24 Oakhurst Road plan. What's the date on it?
Oh, you're gonna have to unroll it for that, sorry.
That's okay, I can do that one. Give him a turn. And the most recent date is there. So I need a motion to
vote on
endorse
it,
the plan.
To endorse the proposed building for the tent connection dated February 8th, 2019.
Correct.
Thank
Yep, 2/8/19.
you.
Someone give me a second?
Second?
Thank you very much, Wally. Any comments from any board members?
No.
Or concerns, comments or concerns from the public? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. 6-0-0 -1. All right.
And Prime Metals you had already endorsed, but they did 3 replacement plans, because they adjusted down the height of the retaining wall. They pulled down the height, pulled it out towards the emergency access a little bit more, and adjusted down the height, and shifted the position of a water line connection. All of that has been reviewed and approved by Graves Engineering, so 3 of the sheets had changes related to those things on them, and then they added the sheet that has the approval, conditions, and waivers on it. So, just again, a motion to endorse
In
the
the,
site plans.
the date is right there, 4/22.
4/22/19, yep.
All right. Paul, you want to take a turn?
Yeah, I move that we accept the
This way.
site development plan for Prime Metals Technology, 85 Gilmore Drive, and the plan is dated 4/22/19.
How much lower is that lot?
Not about 4 feet off the high line. So
Which
more
is
closer
20
to
or so?
17 maybe
Yeah.
now. And it goes like this now, where it kind of went, whoa. So it's more kind of off center pyramid now.
Any other questions or comments from the
Nope.
board? Questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining.
Who was the second? Wally was the motion,
She was.
Marion was the second.
Second.
It was a quiet second. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. All right. And what's next?
And next is the waiver site plan, 11 John Road.
Okay, we have a request for a waiver of site plan review for 11 John Road. It's an HVAC business.
Good evening.
Good evening. So you can identify yourself.
My name is Tom McCallick.
Thank you, Tom.
11 John Road. I'm the
Welcome
owner-
aboard.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
I'm the owner and manager of On the Green LLC. Also the owner of Renat HVAC. I recently purchased 11 John Road under the LLC. And the intent is to move my business over there from 18 Providence Road as we have outgrown our space.
Good,
The building
good.
is just absolutely beautiful. Long story short, just in case you're thinking, I worked for Tom Renat for 20 years. I built the business for him as he built his electrical business. And I bought him out January 1, 2017.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I committed to a 3-year lease to him in the building he's in now. He owns the 2 apartment buildings, 16 and 18 Providence. Our office building is behind. He also owns the plaza across the street. So my office is at 18 Providence Road, and my storage is across under the plaza, as well as his. But we never went anywhere else because when he was the owner, he wasn't gonna go pay somebody else rent. So we made it work. It's time for me to move on, and like I said, my intent is to run the business at 11 John Road. My plan is to clean it up tremendously. I think you'll be happy to hear. So what I've done on the plan that Jen has up, the yellow depicts this beautiful fence that is on the site now. I can actually show you what it looks like. Don't be disappointed that it's coming down. That's 2 pictures of it. So, actually, there's another view. So currently, it's a galvanized chain link fence with wood slats. That is basically being used still as a contractor yard. If you guys remember the name Franklin Wells Jr. back in the early 90s.
Trust me, we do.
He ran his construction company out of here, so in that gated area was his dozers and his backhoes and his building materials. I don't need to gate anything in because I'm not gonna be storing anything on site. My office is primarily in the building. I have 7 employees who will report and work out of there every day. 20 employees in the field with service and installation vans. They take them home. So there'll be no vehicles stored on the site, except I do have one 14-foot rack body, which is used for deliveries intermittently. That would be parked on the site somewhere, and in the winter it would be parked in the garage. So there's a sliding gate right here, that will come down. All of this fence and that wood slat will come down. My intent is to pave part of this parking lot, and I don't know how much yet. I don't know how much I'm gonna be allowed to pave. I'll be working with the building department on those types of things. And as far as signage, there's a current sign right now, environmental services. He'll be taking it with them. So my plan is to get a permit for a sign, just to identify us. We're not a walk-in business, it's just mainly for deliveries of equipment. I also plan to renovate the interior, the 2,500 square feet of office. Basically needs a lot of lipstick. It's 90s, fluorescent tube lighting, really old and ratty drop ceiling, so I'll be dropping the drop ceiling, new light fixtures, new ceiling, new paint, new carpet. And we might be taking down one wall and putting up one wall, but that's about the extent of the construction. And again, we'll be working with John Kuchar on that, requiring the proper permits. I do want to, as Equipment Services has created 10 spaces, I'm gonna need, they won't be as big, because those were created for trash trucks, as Jen said, they're quite wide. So somewhere in here, I'm gonna have 4 or 5 spaces, because this just doesn't work out here. I mean, when I go over and visit the building, they're kinda jammed around and just kinda put everywhere, you know, where everyone can park, because they're not parking back here. This is all trash trucks currently to be repaired. But I will need 4 or 5 spaces here for employees. I wanna open the front for potential vendors, or somebody visiting. And, that's about it. Any other questions?
Any questions from any board members?
Oh, if I could just clear one thing up, so in the garage, so the offices, I explained what's gonna happen there, and then the two 14-foot bay doors, that's just where my equipment is gonna be stored. I have a lot of hand jacks, genie lifts, gang boxes, step ladders, extension ladders. Right now, that's under Heritage Plaza, and those are 20 by 40 bays with an 8-foot ceiling. So this will allow me to have a fork truck, 22-foot ceilings, I think, are in there, 20-foot ceilings. It's really an absolute perfect building that I could have found, and I really wanted to stay in Sutton. I'm a Grafton guy. I grew up in Grafton, live in Grafton, but because of our customer base and the proximity and the access from Sutton, even though I'm gonna have to do a UE, you know, might leave the space and head toward Mass Pike 290, but we also service Douglas, Northbridge, that direction, Fall River, New Bedford, you know, Dudley, kind of head back that way. So not too much of a pain in the butt. It's a nice park. I plan to be a good neighbor, friendly neighbor. I want to make my building nice. I would like to see a couple of the other sites cleaned up a little bit, and I'm working with Jen on that. I don't want to go in there and start throwing down the hammer and who's this guy? But, you know, I know it's an industrial park, but I think it's, you know, it's how we represent our business. I have 22 vans on the road. That's our advertising, they're billboards. We keep our vans nice. The intent is to keep the same image, you know, with our property.
You'll probably have a bigger effect, because I'm familiar with you and Renault. It's kind of like Dauphiné Concrete. It's like Pleasant Valley. They just set the bar high.
Yeah,
And when one person does that, enforcement doesn't have to come from the town. It's really by embarrassment. I think sometimes that
Right.
people say, well, looks like the level of the water's rising around here.
Right.
In the past, a million years ago, when we created the overlay district, before we had the overlay district, I used to tell people, when you're coming to Sutton as a businessman, take a right after, was it Honeydew Donuts back then?
Yeah.
Drive in and out of there, and if that's what you want the industrial park to look like, you should probably just keep driving, because that's not, it didn't come out of the gate well. But we were new, and we didn't have people like Jen around, so if we're trying to just get some revenue from businesses as opposed to residents, so for myself, I'm happy to hear that you're basically staying in town or moving to another part of town.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Dan Carver, the owner of Environmental, he's like 2 weeks behind me in the process, so he closes in June. He needed 6,000 square feet of garage. And he actually looked, I think he came here, and he looked at expanding a building. Super guy. I acquired in the purchase, I acquired his his lease till
Yeah.
June 30th. then he'll be a tenant at will for July, August, maybe part of September. Once he's out, my goal is to already have my subs lined up, my permit approved, and gonna get in there, and my goal is to get in there by the end of 19.
Because I'm so old and I'm so familiar with the site, I usually don't speak first, but any other board members
I,
have any comments or criticisms?
I had visited the site this weekend, just kind of drove around it and took a look, and
Were you pretty
and I-
impressed?
yeah. And I applaud you for looking to fix it up, you know. Like you said, the fence was pretty ratty, all the dumpsters all lined up, so I think, you know, what it looks like on your plans will make it a more inviting area outside, and, you
I
know.
do plan on painting the outside too, I didn't mention that. If the budget allows this year, I wanna do it all. I wanna paint that building. It's faded, it's, you know, original manufacturer, you know, metal building.
Package steel?
And probably not this
No?
year,
Oh,
but
wow.
I will put some kind of fence here, more like the wrought iron aluminum type looking, maybe 6 feet high, if that's approved. So I do want it to be presentable and approachable and nice. And like you said, I hope people drive by and jump on the wagon, because it's,
Glassing up the joint.
yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening.
Anyway,
We need a motion to waive site plan review if you so choose, and then if you need any conditions, pop those in there. Obviously, we would need the standard condition number 1, which would be the approval of any other required departments, boards, committees, commissions, like the building department, fire department, those kind of things.
any other comments or questions from board members?
I would just like to say I'm happy you're staying here in Sutton. I do live in the general area where you're currently located, and
Okay.
I often wondered what was going on underneath Heritage Plaza.
Well, he
You know,
rent,
it's
well, he
like-
rents, so he rents those to whoever.
Yeah.
There's painters, there's,
Yep.
he runs Renata Electric still, so he has 3 bays of ladders and wire, and I have
Yeah.
2 bays of ladders and equipment and HVAC parts, and, you know, then next door has a storage, and it's just kind of a little of everything, but
Yeah.
it's just not ideal. You gotta walk across the street, you got a delivery, and it's
You don't have
just-
much room back there either for
No,
vehicles.
it's not.
Mm.
And Tom Renard's done a great job keeping that corner nice.
Right.
Yeah,
You know, he's been in business in town for a long, long
He
time.
likes things neat.
He
Yeah,
does. And,
Comments from the public? Nick, any words of wisdom? No? Yeah, you know, and I'm hoping, I mean, what's the, in the past, I hope the fire department, all the people that do permits are gonna walk in with a plan of what was there before. Sometimes they get surprised because it doesn't look like it did the last time they had a visit. So it's also a chance for Sutton to hit the reset button. The fire, they may have some things that we don't know about, but if they recommend that you do something, any board from town, obviously will say, you have to do those things. All right? Good.
All right, so a motion to waive site plan review and condition on at least that one condition, approval of all other boards, committees, applicable boards, committees, commissions.
Someone want to make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Need a second?
Second. So you're changing the sign that's out on the street?
yeah, so currently, I didn't take a picture of it, just a post and panel sign. I think it's 2 feet by 8 feet, and it just has
It's
this
in the
logo.
setback, so he intends to keep it
Yeah,
in the setback.
I tend to put it exactly where his is, because I thought I was just gonna be able to put my overlay on his, but he's taking it with him, because he needs a sign for his new location. So my intent is just to not do a building sign, just keep it on the ground, post and panel, and then, as everyone else does, out on the main road.
Yeah.
And he knows he needs to submit that design to the
I was just
office
gonna say, yeah,
before-
don't spend any money until
before
No.
they get
Until you
the application.
give it to Jim.
I used to run Sunshine Sign Company back in the 90s.
Okay, so you
So I know this,
You know the
drill.
I've been in front of plenty of permit reviews.
All right, so you have, the motion was Wally, the second was Scott.
Yep.
All right,
Any further comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 6-0-0 minus 1.
you will get a
Thank
letter.
you.
All right, these back.
See that back?
Because I think I gave her copies last week. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Have a nice night.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Last, is
Use.
a Winchell Drive discussion.
That one, he's not coming in tonight, he will schedule for a future
Like I'm
meeting.
missing
The
a page.
service, right?
Any other correspondence?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, I did put in your files the final housing needs study. As you know, we've had a subcommittee working on our housing needs study and our housing production plan. Basically evaluating what kind of housing we have in town, what kind of demographics are in town in terms of the ages of people in town, and kind of what the mismatch is. And as anticipated, there is a mismatch between what the age of people and what they can afford and what's available for housing here in Sutton. And in particular, this plan focuses on the lack of affordable housing, and that is not housing like Section 8 housing. That's housing that's affordable to people if you count that affordable housing cost is no more than 30% of your income. And if you own a home, that includes the mortgage, taxes, any insurance on the home, mortgage insurance on the home. And if you rent, that includes your rent and any utilities. So affordable housing, that's how affordable housing is categorized under HUD, Housing and Urban Development, at the federal level, and under State Department of Housing and Community Development regulations. So we sorely lack. We're about 1.5% of all of our housing stock is affordable to people within this community, and in fact, 12 to 13% of families in this community are extremely, I forget the term, housing, it's critical. They're basically paying well over 50% of their housing income on housing right now. So you have a significant portion of the community that is just way over their head in terms of housing costs, never mind those who need the more affordable housing. That was a full evaluation you see there. I gave you a copy of the presentation that'll be made to the Board of Selectmen tomorrow night. We got a grant for all of this work and worked with Central Mass Regional Planning, who has done almost 30 of these in their central, in their region, and assisting in Iron Valley as well. So I just wanted to, as the planning board, obviously, action items will come out of this. We talked a little bit about cottage housing. I'll be getting you drafts of what some of those bylaws would look like, and maybe some potential things for you to think about for fall town meeting that would roll out of the needs in this plan. So there is an executive summary that I had Tammy copy for you. It's 8 pages of the plan, and then the very last page of the plan, which is a table of recommended action items. So you have this in your, that was in, you actually have the full plan, 1 pages, but the first 7 or 8 pages are the executive summary, and the last page are the real action items. So you'll be seeing from me in the next month or 6 weeks some actual bylaw changes and stuff that will roll right out of this plan and for your consideration for fall town meeting. So I just wanted you to have all of that, because the subcommittee was set up through the planning board, and Wally served diligently on it for many moons. And this is the result, so take a look. So the Board of Selectmen will need to kind of review this, adopt it, and then if we can start actually producing housing units, the town actually gets some protection from unfriendly 40B projects through time if we can actually start producing affordable units. The one interesting thing that we may have to address very quickly at fall town meeting is you may not count affordable units in a age-restricted development if the bylaw specifically says that no children may be in the development. So you can still have an over 55 community bylaw, but it cannot specifically exclude children. The reality is, if you look at our housing numbers in Woodburyville Heights, in the villas of Pleasant Valley, and even Forest Edge, those are just standard condo communities. They're not age restricted, but you can see over time, I've looked at those 3 communities with Laura, the town clerk, over time, and the numbers of children that are really produced out of those communities are relatively low because they have a max of 2 bedrooms. In this case, for like Armsby, it would be specifically age restricted. At least one resident would have to be over the age of 55. And you still, as you know, would have only 1 and 2 bedroom units. But unless we adjust our over 55 bylaws, we won't be able to count the 10 to 12 units that that project will produce on our affordable housing inventory. So that's something we need to think about. If we adjust the wording, still have an over 55 bylaws, but drop out the specific exclusion of those under the age of 18. But of course, I'll provide you a lot more stats, local stats, the actual numbers over the last 10 to 15 years in each of our 3 condominium projects that are 2-bedroom limits. So you can kind of see and weigh that as you consider whether we should do that or not, whether it's worth it to be able to count those additional affordable units, and take the risk that you might have a few children in those. Okay?
Okay.
So that's that. And then, Bob, back to what you talked about at the beginning of the meeting in terms of Wedgewood Farm and the request to continue.
And we've done that.
We didn't do the motion.
Okay, I need a motion to continue that to 7:30 on the,
20th.
which is the next meeting, which is
5:20.
5:20.
That's the next board meeting. You all have town meeting next Monday. Hope to see you there. And as usual, for the 3 members that normally get paper files, I'll prepare you a paper file for town meeting as well. But I'll also have the same materials for handout that night at town meeting if you want them. So if the rest of you would like, I won't do it electronically because I wouldn't assume you're gonna lug your iPad with you to town meeting. So, so if the rest of you want a paper copy, I'll be happy to put out a file for everybody.
How many articles do we have?
We have, maybe 7. We have 3 groundwater protection. And we have maybe 3 more. Yeah, so there's not many planning board ones. But we're at the end, as always, on Springtown meeting. So that is next, Monday at 7 o'clock.
And there's no storm looming that we don't know about that I've heard?
I haven't been looking.
No
so.
one has.
No excuses, in other words?
Yeah. No one has approached me to ask what we were
And
thinking.
you don't have John Anderson, who really likes to read articles anymore, so. So maybe you go back to each reading one.
Yeah. I'll remember my glasses.
You said you want to do all of them?
So,
I can pass it to him.
do we
Bring
have
your
a
glasses.
motion for the Wedgewood Farm 5:20 at 7:30 PM?
Yes, you made the motion, need a second? I need a second to move it to,
Second.
thank you.
So Mike made the motion, Wally seconded? Was
Sure.
that what happened?
All right.
Okay.